All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is our fifth episode in season one. This is the fifth and final one that we have planned. And as you can see, we have a guest. Greg and I kind of made a bet last week on whether or not he would come, and I called him out. I maybe did send him that video. I called him out, and here he is, Shane Bates. He's my brother-in-law. He's also one of the first three members of the hiking crew, and so we brought him along for this episode. Yeah, yes. The 14ers, right? If you don't know, better ask us, but we'll definitely tell you.
And I was right. He's here, and as we suspected, just to prove you wrong, he is here.
Wouldn't miss it.
Perfect. So let's just real quick, Shane, you may want to give just like a quick background of, you got a couple boys, you got two boys and a daughter that play sports. Tell us a little about that. And you're a chiropractor, which I think brings an interesting kind of perspective. And so just maybe give us a minute or two, just tell us about your boys and your daughter and also about like what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. So Shane Bates, chiropractor, like Steve was saying, performance chiropractic. Been doing that since 2007. In an office that works a lot with athletes and just do any patient that needs help. Three kids, got a 15-year-old, just started school today, 10th grader at CBC. So very exciting day for him.
Nice.
And Brooke got an 8th grader. And Cooper, 7th grader. All three of them play sports, pretty involved, definitely in hockey, competitive hockey, I'd say. And Brooke is playing basketball and horse riding. So ever since they were, pretty much 5 years old, they've been doing some type of sport. Tried a few different things, some stuck, obviously hockey stuck, lacrosse, softball, baseball. Luckily, no soccer. Okay. Sorry about that.
Shots fired early. Love it.
I just wanted them to focus on playing sports. So obviously,
not soccer.
Steve would come by every once in a while and try to knock the soccer ball around a little bit. Got some dogs running around the house, and they would play soccer. And so that's about as close as we got. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. It's fairly pretty active. I enjoy running. Done some Ironmans, triathlons, marathons. Try to stay pretty busy, and maybe I've done a few 14ers. Enjoyed doing some camping, so I know a few other guys that enjoy that. So that's pretty much me.
Like some camp coffee. I know that for sure.
That's the only reason I go back.
Yeah, right on. I don't know if I know I obviously don't know the answer to this because I'm going to ask it, but did you play a lot of sports yourself growing up? I mean, did you play high school, college? Did you play hockey?
I did not play hockey.
Okay.
I did not play hockey. I don't think I knew what hockey was until high school.
Yeah.
In a small town, you got your typical sports, your football, soccer. Actually, I don't think we got soccer until like my sophomore, junior year. I don't know. I know Steve's a little younger than me, but we didn't even have soccer as an option. Baseball, track, tennis, golf. That's pretty much what your options were. And so I played some football and played some baseball, and then playing some baseball at Maryville University in St. Louis. Small school there.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you here, Shane Bates. I hope this is a regular.
Maybe I need to bring up how my kids started playing hockey. I don't know if I can say this or not, but so we in our office we treat some athletes in there. Because of that, we get some tickets around town. And so Brady, my 15-year-old, was probably about 4 years old, and we got tickets to go to the Blues Blackhawks game. I was like, oh, this would be cool, go check it out. And literally in 10 minutes, there was 3 fights. And as serious as a little kid like that could look at you, he's like, Dad, what are they doing? I was like, well, this is hockey, buddy. They can fight. straight in my eyes. He said, "Dad, I love hockey." Whatever. Young kid fighting, whatever. Didn't think much of it. From that day on, he was hooked on the NHL Network, watching it every day. As a baseball player, it kind of crushed me. I was like, well, he's okay. Guess he can do some skating, and never looked back from that.
Wow.
And 2 of those 3 fights was Cam Jansen, who played on the Blues, who's a local St. Louis guy. And I know he's got a podcast as well. But I kind of blame him of why my kids are playing hockey, 9 months out of the year. So that's
great.
how
Wow.
they got started. Yeah.
That's great. That's excellent.
That's a good story. Yeah. Yeah.
Has Brady ever been in a fight in a hockey?
No.
Yeah. So I guess that's still to come.
You kind of get in some scrums in front of the net where they kind of get back and they're pushing and jawing a little bit. But, each year is getting more intense.
Yeah.
So,
from what I know of Brady, he doesn't seem like the fighting type.
No.
Who would
he's
Cooper,
going
maybe.
to Cooper. Yeah. I don't know.
There's one in every family, right?
Who would you classify as the athlete in your family that is the most aggressive? What would you say?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess I would say Cooper.
Really?
But shockingly, Brooke is like the nicest person ever. And then on the basketball court, she's a little different.
Look out. Nice.
And I have to admit it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
She can turn it on and off, So.
Yeah. Well, I can vouch she is probably the nicest person off the court of all time. So
yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for that, Shane. Appreciate that little bit of history about your kiddos there. So the first segment of our kind of show that we've been doing is headlines. So I think last time we hit on the Women's World Cup. Greg made a solid prediction that the U.S. women would not make it out of the knockout phase, which they got knocked out. And so, Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about where we are? I haven't been following.
Yeah, I know. I know. Like? We'll have to see how this goes since we're doing these kind of on delay, right? So This is our 5th episode, but we won't be releasing this for a few weeks. But so this weekend's the final. Shane, I know you're going to be getting up early, probably, right? 3:00 in the morning to catch this final in Australia. Spain versus England. So 2 first timers. So we'll have a brand new World Cup. Women's World Cup champion, and it'll be from Europe. And some of the just to bring it back to some of the discussions that we've had, the Europeans are, from a youth athletics perspective, are doing really, really good. And the Spain team has won like the U17s and they've won the U20s. And so their youth program is outstanding. It's just out of this world. So they're the underdogs going into this weekend, but clearly the power is shifting to Europe, and their way of training and bringing youth athletes and young athletes up, at least at the moment, seems to maybe have surpassed the United States. So should be an interesting game. I think England will win. That's my prediction, but I'll be rooting for Spain. I think they play the game the right way. It's amazing to watch. So I'd love to see them win. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, those are 2 traditional like men's powerhouses as well, like England and Spain, right? So you're kind of seeing this kind of evening of the guard, kind of what we talked about last time. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I think they just know it through osmosis. I mean, it's such a big deal over there. You know what I mean? Like, think about it, right? Like, it's everywhere over there. So it was only a matter of time, I think, before they became to dominate. So
probably sounds like a lot of like Canada and hockey. Right.
Yeah.
It's just what they do.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
I was also thinking about, aren't a lot of hockey players from like Russia and Finland and like some of those Nordic kind of countries, right?
Yeah.
So
Sweden. Yeah.
Kind of born and bred that way. So maybe that has something to do with it too. And then I think you had another soccer update headline you want to talk through? That
so let me ask you.
Shane's really excited about this one.
Yeah. No, let me ask you this though. This will help me understand what bubble I'm in. So
okay.
So in Nashville, the MLS has been playing this Leagues Cup, which is basically the Mexican teams versus the United States teams, and they're going head to head in like a NCAA tournament type of thing, or like a World Cup tournament. They did a group stage and then a knockout stage, and so Inter Miami, who has Messi, is in the final against Nashville, and that's going to be here in Nashville at our home stadium this weekend. And in Nashville, it's a huge deal. In soccer in general, it's a pretty big deal. Let me ask two of you. You have any idea what I'm talking about? Has it broached your radars at all?
Well, let me tell you, I know who Messi is. Okay. And he has played in 6 MLS games, and he has 9 goals.
There you go.
Are you Googling that right now?
I think maybe he was, but we know the screen is real small, so you'd be like looking at this if he was. You're right, man. The guy's been on fire.
That's my soccer report.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think I would say in terms of your bubble, it hasn't really. I mean, I think St. Louis was out pretty early in that.
Yeah.
And after that, I didn't really keep up or follow. So you're definitely in the soccer / Nashville bubble. But I do think that kind of tournament is really interesting. Because are those the actual professional kind of leagues or teams out of Mexico?
Yeah.
So it would be like the Premier League. It's like the Champions League, I guess, but in like this area.
Yeah, very similar. Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's one of the things soccer has that not a lot of other sports has, right? Where we have really good leagues all over the world, right? It's in most other sports, right? The leagues are dominated here in the United States, right? I mean, the NHL is the best of the best, right? And
let's ask Shane. I mean, I would say hockey is a pretty global sport with like Canada and Russia.
Sure.
I know there's a league in Russia. I mean, what do you know about that, Shane? Like, as far as
it's just below the NHL. NHL is top dog, but the KHL, which is in Russia, it's a real league, and some players decide to stay there. They can make, pretty good salaries. So,
is that considered the second best in the world?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a competition or a tournament between sort of the best of the KHL versus the best of the NHL?
Not that I know of. No.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
No.
That's what soccer does quite often. So I'd like to see it.
Didn't that team that you're talking about come play St. Louis City?
Inter Miami.
No, like the Team of Americas or whatever. Isn't that who came and played St. Louis City?
Possibly. St. Louis City was in this tournament. I'd have to go back and look. It could have been Club America that came, that was like in their group or whatever. But yeah, I think St. Louis got booted out.
Waxed.
Yeah, early on. But it's kind of interesting because, I mean, imagine if the NFL, just like in week 8, just took a month off, just said, we're done for 4 weeks and we're going to go play a tournament in Europe. I mean, that's basically what these soccer leagues do. They just take like huge breaks in the middle of their seasons and go play these other tournaments, which is it's pretty fascinating, really, look. It's interesting. And, in the case of Inter Miami and Messi, they've made a pretty big deal. So my prediction there, Steve Areno, I against all odds, I think Nashville SC picks out a winner this weekend against Messi. Messi,
I don't even watch them. I don't even
lost. Messi hasn't even lost a game, so maybe Nashville can be the one.
I saw a highlight where Messi legitimately made 2 players run into each other. I'm gonna say he's gonna win the game. Whatever team he's on, he's gonna win.
Yeah, it's probably true. So, well, there's your headlines for the week.
Perfect. All right. Well, I want to do a mini segment real fast. What is Greg? You're a huge fan of the flavored waters. What's the flavored water du jour?
Yes, tropical cherry Good and Gather. You get this at your local chart. This is the Target brand here. It's good, on a scale of 1 to 10.
All right.
I give it a 7.
7. Okay.
Yes, my goal is to be drinking some different LaCroix, beverage every episode. I think we can do it.
Well, this episode is not brought to you by LaCroix, just so you know.
Not yet.
Cool. Not yet. Yes. Dream big. Dream big.
Right. All right, great. Okay, so that's our kind of like our two, I would say, pre-segments. So now, again, one of the reasons that we're, besides the fact that he's one of our favorite people that we wanted to have Shane on here, is I think he has a lot of good perspective on health, sports injury, nutrition, and then also hockey. And so, you toe that line between dad and also doctor. So maybe just kind of walk us through, as somebody who really knows nutrition, what are some important aspects of that you walk through with your kids, or like how do you prepare them like game day? Like what's a thing that you would do with them on game day as far as nutrition goes? Anything special?
I don't think day to day things like that. I just think in general, as a household, I mean, I think we fairly just a decent meal, just kind of overall a healthy diet. We're still going to have some snacks and desserts here and there, but I think just being a good example, how we eat, how my wife eats is kind of how our kids eat. And so, especially with Brady getting a little older, he's understanding and feeling the difference when he's eating good quality food to eating some heavier foods that really don't make him perform as well, kind of slow him down on the ice. He has kind of started doing that, I think, more so, and understanding that. And so from a dad perspective, I'm really careful with that type of stuff. I like to, like we were talking about, he's seen a trainer all summer. The trainer has done a really good job of bringing those things up to him. And then Brady comes to me a lot of times and kind of, hey, this is what CJ talked about, and this is that type of thing. Let's go to the store and maybe get some of the protein, maybe get these type of grains, and kind of prepare these type of meals. So, I kind of try to lead in the right direction on like, should you be, eating chicken tenders and fries, 2 hours before a hockey game? Obviously, the answer to that, right? You shouldn't be. And then sometimes I've even let them kind of learn on their own, where, we got a game in a couple of hours. You sure you want those chicken tenders? Dad, I'm really hungry, and so sometimes, whether it's the right thing or not, I've let them make those choices before. And, but
I love that. I mean, we definitely need to, as parents, teach our kids to learn on their own, right? I mean, if we're telling them everything, then they're not learning or developing on their own. So I've done similar things, and I think it's hard to know that they're making a bad decision, right? But sometimes they just need to, right, so that they can understand themselves. How early, and maybe before we go on too far in our discussion today, I would just also add that, one of the things that we're trying to do with this podcast is try to de-stress a little bit for parents. My take is, I think our take is that youth athletics is, if it's not broken, there are definitely some aspects of it that could use some help. And, I think competitive youth athletics is just a very stressful time for parents. They don't always know what to do or where they should be going, or it gets very competitive at the child's stage. So it's also very competitive for the parents, and they think they're making mistakes, and they want to do one thing and they want to do another. And so, another reason why I think you're a good person to have here today is that you're doing both. You're obviously treating young athletes in your day-to-day work, but you're also a dad. And so, when you think about like having those conversations around health and nutrition, I mean, what age do you think it starts to make sense to really begin to have those discussions? I mean, you said Brady's 15, is it kind of in those teenage years, or is it even younger, or should parents maybe not be stressing about it too much with their 8-year-old?
I don't know if I have the right answers for that. I can just tell you what we've done in our house, and it kind of goes back on the same thing on just kind of setting an example from day one. Just normally what we have around our house, we'll have, some snacks, but we have a lot of good food, and we always try to prepare, food that's somewhat good for you. And so I don't know about really having a discussion. Like I haven't really, my youngest is 12. I haven't really talked to Cooper much about it at all. And he's 12.
Right.
But at the same time, I know in my mind, he's got a game coming up, or he's got this type of stuff going on. Let's maybe look at more, grilled chicken, some rice, some veggies, some fruit, things like that. After the game, maybe kind of let him, kind of have a choice on what he wants. But definitely, teenage years is when, everything starts changing a little bit, where it depends on where you are with sports, like, my boys are at AAA hockey level, and, there's a lot of kids that are, just playing A level hockey, B level hockey, which is pretty much rec hockey. And I think that that'd be a different discussion. I just think
Right.
their expectation is a little different,
Right.
So I don't know if that really answers kind of what you're wanting. But.
Well,
No,
maybe
it
it does.
does.
Yeah, I was gonna, what I keep, Greg and I talk about this 10-year, like focusing on the 10-year journey, right? Like, don't focus so much and stress about like that one day, that one game, that one practice. So what I think I heard you said is, if you build healthy habits, or you have a general healthy habit, if your kid has a soda one day, not a big deal, right? If they eat a bad meal before a game, not a big deal. So long as that overall scope is you're trending in the right direction, that, your kid is going to be okay. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Exactly. And I kind of look at it even more just as a life thing, as far as with my kids. Like, I'm trying to set this example now. So, the sports is one thing, and they're all in, and I'm in there with them. We're trying to compete and let them do the best they can. But it's after that. It's going to be like when they go off to college, and, even kind of, become adults, and just kind of understand, the way that is a good, healthy diet, and understand that it helps them feel better when they eat good food, and sometimes not as good if you eat a lot of bad food. So
kind of makes sense.
I don't look too much into it. I'm not saying the people that do are wrong, because I know there are plenty of people that dive into it a lot more serious than we do. And even the kids buy into it a lot earlier as well. So,
Right. Well, I'd say what I'm hearing too is lead by example. Right. I mean, gosh, we could have a whole show on that. Actually, I just wrote that down.
Write that down.
I did actually. Like, that's actually really good, because, as a coach, I mean, you see that a lot. What we would see a lot with coaching is just after games, there just seemed to be a different level of sort of maybe, and again, I don't know if this is conscious or unconscious, but, for a long time, I think that there's this feeling of using food as a reward. And so, you've played the game, you've come to the game, you scored a goal, whatever, let's go to the concession stand and, grab a soda and some Skittles or something, and maybe when they're real young, maybe there's something to that, right? Because they didn't want to be there in the first place or something. But I suppose, the habit we need to think about as parents is getting out of this habit of using food as some sort of a reward for the activity, right? There has to be other rewards that are just as fulfilling, that don't really have anything to do with food, right? Because then it becomes hard to break that habit. And what we would see as we would sort of watch as our competitive teams got older and older is that you would still see that. I mean, kids that are 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, after a game, it's a hot dog and a soda. And we'd be like, what like, what's happening there? And that's all starting at the parent level, right? Because it's the parents that really are right there along with them, having a hot dog and a soda themselves, so that's what I'm hearing a lot, is that you lead by example, and having known you for a long time, I know that you put health and wellness and fitness as an important part of your life, so it would make sense that your kids do too.
Yeah, I mean, your kids are going to eat exactly the way you eat. That's
Exactly.
just, I mean, pretty simple. So I think if you're a parent and you're maybe concerned about the way your athlete is eating, then I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, aren't I? I mean,
No, I don't think.
I mean, I probably am.
Only 4 people listen to this, so you're probably fine. But
you're probably going to lose 2 friends.
I think if you're kind of concerned the way your athlete is eating, then you probably need to look at what you guys are eating at home, because they're just like always, our kids are going to model what we're doing, and so that's probably where you need to start. Go through your pantry and see what's in there. Clean some things up a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
I don't see how. I know. I think what you're saying is true.
Hey, I mean,
right?
I think occasional donut's good. I mean, you got to get. But if you get one, it's got to be a good one. Like, you got to get a croissant donut from Schnucks.
Oh,
that's what you got to get.
Are you talking
sorry
about
to get sidetracked, but
oh, that's okay. The French twist ones, is that the one, like a little crispy but got those are pretty good.
Oh yeah, they're glazed.
Yeah.
Actually, I got 4 right here. No.
I like a good cake donut from Dunkin' Donuts. I think that's my go-to. Although I mean, I have a lot of vices when it comes to food. Donuts aren't one of them. I also, like the little white donuts, that like come in the
ones?
Yeah, that come like in the 6-pack or whatever. Yeah, Barry.
You don't buy the 6-pack. You buy the bag, dude. Don't tell me you buy the 6-pack.
Are you watching me? What are you doing?
You got some powder on your beard, dude.
Right there. That's hilarious. Yeah, those things are pretty good though. I'm a big fan of those.
That's all good. Well, no, it's all good.
Well, wait, you got to tell us yours, Carney. I mean, we told you our favorite donuts. So what's your go-to donut?
Oh, dude, I like the one with like the pudding in it, like whatever that is. Those
is it pudding?
The worst was it, like the cream filling, like the cream filling, not the white cream though, but like the custard. The custard filled donut. Like, look at Shane's face right there. He's like, I can't believe I'm gonna have to deal with you again. No wonder you didn't make it up the mountain, Steve. You're eating custard filled donuts.
That's good. Good.
That's all great. No, that's good advice. I don't think you're gonna get flack for that. I think you're just kind of encouraging people to be reflective, and kind of. Like I like what you said. Your kids are going to mimic and mock what you do at all ages, really. And so making sure that you again have a generally healthy diet. Again, one-offs is okay, but generally healthy.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I have always kind of thought like, if I'm going to expect my kids to do something, like I should be doing the same thing, and that goes as far as like making good choices what we eat. Like I enjoy having a beer occasionally, but like I tell them all the time, it's like you occasionally
only one beer,
something. Well, but it's all moderation, or just whatever, pizza sometimes, or things like that. And but at the same time, even going past the nutrition part, even more into like training, just kind of like I enjoy running, and so that's just a part of my daily routine, almost daily. I mean, quite a bit. Wake up early, go for a run, and then it's the same as I look at them with the training that they've done this summer. Hey, in the morning, let's eat a good breakfast, let's get a good workout, get the day started. You feel much better when you do that, and everything else will kind of carry on from there. So if I'm eating a fairly good diet, working out hard, then kind of asking them or being a good example, the more likely they're going to do that as well. Sometimes I come home from work and they're nowhere to be seen when I walk in the door. Now, sometimes they are upstairs playing Xbox, right? It's summertime, plenty of Xbox time. Other times I look around and I'm like, what's going on? Where are they at? Then I'll hear like some clanging and different things going on. All three of them are down in the basement. They put together a workout and they're working out together. You know, they set up like 6 different stations and they just kind of know how to rotate and just do some things on their own. You know,
Nice.
lightweight little things. But
Yeah.
just knowing that they're kind of learning how to do those things now, you know, that's always going to continue for them. You know, that base of understanding of just feeling good, working out, being strong, that they'll continue doing that as adults.
Wow.
So can we dive a little bit deeper into the working out part? So, you know, what age we would get asked this question a lot from parents?
Yeah.
Resistance training, weight training.
Yeah.
What do you feel like, or what have you told your kids, even if you don't want to give like a medical answer to it, just like what have you done, you know, as far as resistance training, weight training, you know, what age again should kids start looking at that? What are some easy and put yourself in like the mind of maybe a single mother who has no background on weight training, but has a son who, you know, wants to start doing it. I mean, what are some easy things they can do or some resources? I mean, what would you be telling some of these parents to get their kids thinking about doing, you know, sort of the exercise and especially the weight training?
Well, I mean, you would talk to 10 different professionals about this, of like when and how to start. I'm sure chances are you will get 10 different answers. But so for me, what I've always thought, it's going to be agility. It's going to be just plyometrics, body weight type stuff for the young kiddos. I mean, basically you're going to be doing some push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, sprints, you know, lunges, you know. Then you can throw in the resistive bands, you know, as it's something that they're more familiar with. And I think you can do that, you know, I don't know, fairly young. I don't know, 10 years old, you know, 12 years old. Yeah, I guess even a little younger, just kind of getting some movement patterns on whatever sport that they're wanting to do. Just, I'd look at it more as just kind of, you know, training to be an athlete, you know, just different planes that you got to move. Sprints are forward and back. You'd work on some drills going side to side, you know, twisting and rotating and things. And then whatever age, I think, you know, when they hit puberty, you know, especially for boys, like whatever that's different for every kid, kind of when that is, and you see them skeletally starting to mature, that's probably when they can start handling some weights, you know. I mean, obviously, if you're new to, you're talking about that example, you know, I know it can cost a little bit of money, but have some guidance with maybe a personal trainer, especially somebody that has good reputation in the area, would be a great start. I like that for me because it's a good way for my kids to go learn from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're excited to come to me. And, you know, it's kind of funny sometimes knowing these things, you know, they come to me and like, oh, yeah, we did this. Oh, have you ever seen this exercise before? Oh, yeah. You know, I've definitely seen it before, but they're excited about it because it's something new to them.
Sure.
Didn't come from me. You know,
that's awesome.
But then also online. I mean, you can find all kinds of online videos where you could set it up for just, you know, certain age groups, you know, or what your goals are. There's endless things online, and a lot of it's free.
Yeah,
you know, that kids could do.
So what I heard.
Go ahead.
Greg, sorry.
No, go ahead, Steve.
All good. Yeah, no, I just kind of wanted to bring it back to what you said though, is none of that sounded too complex, right? Like it sounds like if I'm a single parent and, you know, maybe I have a small home, my kid can do that stuff in the living room, or they can just go, you know, right outside in the backyard and do some of those, you know, don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to like you said, to do the sprints and do agility.
Yeah.
And you can kind of set that. I think that's really great advice too. Again, de-stressing that you can do these things wherever you are, whenever, at whatever kind of phase, or, you know, financial means you have. That's good. It's great. Thanks.
Yeah. And I would go back to the same thing with the nutrition, the eating stuff. And if you have an athlete son or daughter that you're wanting to start doing some training and you're wanting them to kind of get interested in it, do it with them. Like if you want them to start doing these things, go have fun with them. Just start doing it. Maybe you won't be able to do it as well as them, but just having that participation, them seeing you doing it, be a good bonding time together. Obviously, it's healthy for both of you guys. Yeah. And chances are they're more likely to stick with it and enjoy it. Because workouts should be fun. I know they're hard, right? And if you're like constantly like, pointing down the basement, like, hey, get down there and do this workout. I got the video down there for you. And you're just upstairs kind of watching. Yeah. I don't know. What would you watch on Netflix? Like Golden Girls or something? What's up there?
Hey, that stuff's funny. That's great. I don't think it's on Netflix, by the way, because I was looking
NCIS,
for that show.
That's pretty good.
Do you even watch Netflix? I don't think either of those are on Netflix.
It's two super random shows. There's no doubt about that. Well, I guess my theory along that lines, Shane, there's these like speed and agility, like groups and classes and things that parents can spend money on, for their like 8-year-olds and their 9-year-olds, and it's like on a Saturday morning and you show up every Saturday and there's cones and they're going back and forth. And it just seems like, look, people can spend their money any way they want, but 8-year-olds in a speed and agility class, I don't know, just doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me. And what I can tell from my own boys and their development is that, just playing the sport pre-puberty is about all they need. Like just being out there and running and playing and basketball and soccer and football and school and recess, like they're doing fine. It wasn't until puberty that I could start to see their bodies changing and being like, okay, like you're going to need to supplement a little bit of what you're doing. So it feels like from a parent perspective and a money perspective, it doesn't seem like you're going to get a lot of like return on investment for that young age. It might help a little bit, but if you can wait until they're older and they're really starting to like grow into themselves, it seems like that might be a better return on investment. Would you agree with that mentality, or do you feel like something like a speed and agility, you're going to get gains at every age that are pretty significant?
I don't know about significant. I don't know how to really measure that. I think you would get some improvement. I think what you're doing is maybe you're kind of creating that habit, that mentality of that we're going to work on some of these things, and when you get older, you're going to work on some of those things. But the improvement, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know exactly how much improvement you would actually see. But if you have a kid that's not, I don't know, I'm trying to think, your boys are pretty athletic, and Carney, yours are as well, or even your girls. But, some kids that maybe aren't naturally that coordinated, maybe at a young age, and maybe they're not doing a bunch of activities outdoors on their own.
Sure. Yep. Right.
When you go to those speed things too, they're full, right? everyone's like running to them, paying for the money to do it. I'm not saying, you should or shouldn't, but, I think it could help.
Yeah. Well, if I just make one more comment, they are full, and I have to ask myself why. I think that's a symptom. Again, you're speaking a ton of facts today, things that I think parents really don't want to hear, which is leading by example. And it's kind of like we've just gotten to this point where we want to outsource everything, right? So it's easier for me to drop Johnny off or drop Jill off at an AGT class, for $100 on a Saturday morning than maybe, like you said, go out for a run with your child, right? Or get out there and both of you do the speed and agility test and see how dad compares to daughter, right? Like
I'm not doing that.
Exactly, right? You know what I mean?
Only because I don't want to get injured.
What with your ankles, Carney? You'll be fine. Yeah, you're fine, brother. You know what I'm saying, though? I guess that's kind of my sense on is like from a parent perspective, like I don't feel like you need to have FOMO around going to the speed and agility thing and paying for that. If it is something of concern of yours, and for your child, maybe just try to get out there and work with them a little bit, and do some of the stuff that you've been talking about. Because I think the return on investment on that is much higher, both in your own health as a parent, your own de-stressing as a parent, your own, sort of bonding as a parent. And you're also then getting your child doing some stuff, so there's just so many more positives to that hour than going to the local AGT thing and spending $100. I guess that's my sense.
And I think I would also on the speed and agility, just kind of bringing that up again. Like, I think if your child really was excited and loved going to it, I think that would change too. If it was something that, their buddies are there and they're amped up about just doing whatever they're going to be doing. I think that plays a role in it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I've been to the rush fields a lot, right? I mean, if you're sending your kids there, take some laps around that parking lot.
Right.
A lot of parents are doing that. You see there, a lot of people are running and walking around there the whole time.
Right.
But a lot of times parents want to watch their kids perform as well, and I don't really do that.
I don't do that much either.
What?
Although I coached a lot of mine, so it's a little bit unfair for me to say, because when I was coaching them, it was a different deal. So can we chat a little bit about sport injuries, youth injuries?
Oh yeah.
One of the things we used to see a lot in soccer was like around knees, again, right around that puberty time, by the way.
Yeah. Like Osgood Slaughters.
Oh, yes, exactly. Right. And we practiced a lot on turf, played a lot on turf, a lot of turf in St. Louis. And I don't know if that matters or not, but just talk to us about, sort of sports injuries, youth injuries that you see a lot, and overuse injuries, and what some of your thoughts around helping prevent that with your athletes.
So every day we see that, and it goes from overuse, simple overuse stuff, goes to a lot of times kids kind of stuck in that one sport and just constantly training the same way, and kind of get some imbalances. So it kind of creates a little bit extra strain on some areas. In hockey, we see it a lot on the hip flexors and the adductors. They use that for most of their stride and power and pivot. That's something that we see quite a bit. Soccer players is going to be the Osgood Slaughter, IT band, Stevers, the back of the heel pain, a lot of times where the growth plates are. So there's a growth plate behind the foot, and then one on the knee. As you're kind of going through puberty, you're getting stronger, you're growing, you're training, you're running, and so it wants to kind of calcify and kind of pull that. And so get some knee pain, heel pain, and so we have people come in and kind of get some advice on that. So the way, our main goal, at least in our office, is just kind of assess what's going on, try to get them out of pain as quickly as possible, decide if they can play or not play. And then once we get that under control, you're explaining to them probably why it happened. You're showing them some tests, some things that make sense to them. Like, see, you don't have this range of motion, it's tight. So when you're doing this activity, you're putting some extra stress there, and kind of help them through that, and then show them how to kind of improve that once they're back on the field again, whether that is some stretches, some strengthening, maybe seeing a PT, send them out for a PT. If they have a trainer, talk to their trainer, say, maybe you need to kind of look at some of these areas to kind of help them with as well.
So you just hit on a thing while you were talking through that, and I kind of want to pull at it, because Greg and I did an episode on year-round sports, and you kind of said, a kid only stuck in one sport. So you would you say you would encourage like off seasons per sports and playing multiple sports? Like, I mean, maybe talk about that. Like, I mean, my son,
everybody talks about that and how great that is, obviously doing different things. But it's really hard,
Yes.
and I know Greg, you're the coach here, right? And so I have had several coaches for all three of my kids, and I've been really lucky of having amazing coaches. I honestly haven't had a bad experience with a coach. And all the coaches talk about, hey, take some off time, do this and do this, and play different sports. And then if it's hockey season, you're playing hockey. If it's spring and you're going to lacrosse or baseball, you play that sport. Not that you still can't do some skating or do some skill work or things like that, but you're still going to be working some different areas and you're focusing on that sport, But I have found that a lot of coaches really preach multi-sport until it affects their sport.
Absolutely.
I have noticed that a lot. And I don't, everyone talks about how it's such a great thing. I mean, it makes sense that you're moving in different planes, right? If you're playing hockey all the time, then you're going to lacrosse where you're running and pivoting and moving your feet a lot more, using your hands up in the air. It makes sense that that's going to be better for the child, but
no, you're absolutely right. And it's another one of the many, problems with sort of youth athletics in America today is that there's just so much emphasis on winning that, you really have to almost set up boundaries with your teams and say, look, you need your best athletes at games to win games, right? So as a coach, you almost have to set out at the beginning to be like, look, this is what we're doing. And most sports, especially like football, hockey, baseball, soccer, really it's like it's the school year, really, right? There's a fall season that starts right about now, right? And then there's a spring season, and then, everyone gets a month off for summer. And that's kind of when you're supposed to do your cross train, right? And that doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean, I would just say guilty as charged, and that's a really difficult thing. I think, and I think talked a little bit about this particular summer that you felt like you were able to kind of get away. I think that's what parents have to do. We
really did.
Yeah, which is great, right? And parents are the boss, parents have to look out for their athletes, and parents have to try to step away from, the whole thing and try to make their own decisions and communicate with coaches, right? I think, all coaches want is parents to say, hey, this is what we're thinking and this is what we're doing. But it is tough, because I think if you just let coaches go, especially as you climb that competitive ladder, and we're talking about some of the highest competition out there, it becomes almost like not a choice. I mean, in the sport that you're in, you're expected to be exclusive to that sport, and it gets really tough. And I think that's really unfortunate, because at 14, how do you know your 14-year-old's going to end up being a hockey player or a soccer player? I mean, they're only 14, right? Like there's so much in front of them. So it's tough. I don't have an answer other than to say that, things like you did this summer, Shane, is what a lot of parents should be thinking about, which is like, hey, we're just going to not do anything, and that's okay.
Yeah. Our kids made, or at least the boys tried out for their AAA teams in mid-May, and the season ends ends in February. You go through spring ends at the beginning of May, then you have tryouts for the following year. And so they both made those teams, and both coaches said the exact same thing. They said, take the summer off from hockey, but do some training, right? Do some activity. Don't sit around and don't do anything. And so we took that as, hey, we're going to take the summer off. And like I've already mentioned, we focused on just doing some strength training and agility work where they worked with the trainer, just basically just kind of working on getting stronger and being an athlete, and introduced a lot of new movements to them, a lot of new stuff. And now the season started up, right? So the season started up last week. And I can't really say that I feel like they're a step behind where they normally are, right? I feel like they're out there and they're moving just fine, maybe a little out of shape according to hockey, but that's just going to take a few weeks and they should be back,
Yeah.
Do you think their mental state was different though? Like, did they seem like more ready to go play hockey since they took all this time off? Like, it wasn't like they were just like ready to go.
Well, Steve, this, they love hockey, right? I mean, they
really
literally,
do.
they just, I've never had to like push them to get out there. Like, that's never happened. More than I feel like this summer at times they were kind of upset with me. Like, when is really, like, it would come up, Cooper would be like, when's hockey starting? I was like, oh, it's next month,
Yeah.
And in our basement we have a shooting room. They have some fake ice down there and then net, and they would go down there and mess around. They could pass back and forth and shoot on the net in the basement. So they weren't, completely not doing anything, but there was nothing organized. So no, they were, even Brady on his own, that's the 15-year-old, he came to me and he's like, man, I'm really excited about hockey this year.
That's great.
So
nice. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've been going for about 45 minutes now. I guess, Greg, do you have any other final questions for our man Shane here?
No, other than just to say again, thank you. This has been really, really good. I actually have a bunch of other questions. So that's just going to be the next time you come on. We'll have to have you back. I hope we didn't scare you off and you'll come back and help. I think your perspective is obviously unique and it's awesome. And all four of our listeners are going to enjoy the hell out of this conversation.
Right. Yeah. Again, I echo what Greg said. Really thankful you came on with us, Shane, and definitely look forward to next time, both on the podcast and the next hiking/camping adventure, wherever that may be.
Maybe you guys need to consider doing a podcast on the next mountain that we're on.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we'd have to carry the camera equipment all the way up, but I'm game.
Yeah.
Well, what about the crew? I mean, you got to get the camera crew, the lighting,
the whole thing. I know. That's what Jordan,
audio engineer.
We'll put Jordan on all of that.
There we go.
He's sitting on the mountain anyway, Shane. So we might as well, just chat and interview him, right?
I don't know if that was called sitting. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Steve wants us to talk about this much, but I thought
stop. It's time to.
I thought he was praying. I mean,
praying.
I really did. I really did.
Yeah,
I really did. I didn't want to interrupt him. I didn't want to interrupt him. So
yeah.
I remember seeing him, and I was like, I think he's praying. I just hope he's praying for me as well.
I keep thinking back to that moment where we're on the backside of this mountain, and I'm having this real freak out moment. And now that I've had some time to reflect, what I think you guys need to say to me is thank you, because I was so distracting that you did not have a chance to be afraid.
That is true. I like that. So, yes.
Anyway, no.
Like, I don't know about that.
I don't know about
that. Well,
I'll go with it.
Yeah, I think that mountain's calling us back though. We got a couple years to train and then we're back at it, boys. We're gonna summit that baby. We're gonna make it happen.
I mean, much to my own chagrin, I've started. Greg, you recommended the Nike Run app, the guided run. I absolutely despise running, and it hasn't been that bad.
Nice.
So yeah. So hopefully I can, like to what Shane was saying, I'm trying to do that like 2 to 3 times a week. So not like really just go all out, try to create a pattern that I can maintain and I can kind of like integrate into my life. And hopefully by the time, we get back, I'll be in a little bit better shape. I don't think I'll ever be quite able to come to Shane with his 5 at 5 group, but I mean, hopefully I'll be able to run a 5K one of these days.
Yeah.
Never say never, Steve.
Right on, brother. Right on.
All right. If I remember right, on that first episode, you guys did like some predictions or something.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You
Yes.
want to do one?
I kind of want to do one. I don't know when the timing is, like when we do our prediction, but I think
We
I
can do
have
it
one.
now. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I predict in
That this
2020.
will be our last episode. This is the last one. Never going to do another one. No, good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I mean, I hope I do another one with you guys because this really has been fun. I feel like we didn't really get to talk much, like there's a lot of other things that I wanted to kind of bring up as far as kind of like navigating athletes through injuries, but maybe another time.
Perfect.
But my prediction is in 2024, Steve will do a half marathon. That's my prediction. Going from not running to doing a half marathon.
And you know what, Bates?
And I will be there.
And so will I. Absolutely.
Well, hold on a
So will
second.
I. Because
if you guys run with me, well, let's do it.
Okay. Done.
How far is a half marathon?
Well, that wasn't a very bold prediction. I mean, you really.
Well, he hasn't done it yet.
How many times am I going to tell you this? Mostly the only motivation I need is Shane to go, Steve, we're doing this. I'm like, all right, here we go.
I can't believe we just did. I mean, I only have water in this cup. Normally, with ideas like this, we have a beer at least.
We still have several months, and I have no idea how far that is. So
13 miles. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to put some serious training in for that one, guys.
How far did we go on that mountain? That was like 15 miles.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just walking, though.
14.
Jogging's
Jogging's just, a little faster walk. So
that's my prediction that
I
Steve
love
in
it.
2024 is going to do a half marathon. So he's got plenty of time to wrap his brain around it and train. And I think he can do it.
All right. I love it.
All right, man.
Right on.
Perfect.
Right
Well,
on.
guys, it has been a wonderful time. I think season 1 so far has been really great. And hopefully we'll come back for season 2. But until then,
you need like a teaser.
A teaser
for season. Yeah.
Well, the teaser is did Steve run the half marathon?
Oh,
season 2 is not going to be till 2024.
How about this one though? No. How about we make an interim step there? How about we get Steve to run a 5K, and then Steve would be up for something like that.
That's be the next start. I like that. That's the next step. I like it.
All right. Groovy. All right, guys. Been great. Thank you.